Hello, Dark Ones, and welcome to the realm of monsters. I'm your friendly neighborhood chaos demon Domino, and today's episode is fuck gratitude. I've been thinking about this for a while. I have to get it out because it's a freaking message. Okay, so for me personally, as someone who grew up with extreme religious trauma, I have come to realize that gratitude was never going to work for me. Every time someone says, have gratitude, I cringe. It makes me nauseous. I want to throw up. Like, I'm gonna be completely freaking honest. And for me, I've come to realize that that's never gonna work on me. Because when it comes to, trying to create a better life, trying to create a better reality and things like that, sometimes you have to realize that the reality must respond to the language that you can understand, because if you're the one creating it, it has to speak the language that you speak. And I've come to understand that gratitude is just not one of them for me personally. Does that mean that I am not appreciative? No. But I have come to, see, how I grew up with extreme religious trauma, and it was always that torturous, oh, well, you should be grateful for every little thing. And, I grew up with the whole sense of, well, at least I'm alive. At least I got to breathe today, even though I was waking up to a day where I would be, severely abused. But, at least I'm still breathing, like that kind of stuff. And that kind of left me with like an extreme bad taste in my mouth every time I hear the word gratitude. And so I've had to kind of like ignore what people say about like, oh, gratitude is, the highest vibration and all of that other stuff. And, I have been training myself out of, my beginnings of entering spirituality over the course of many, many years, where it's just like, oh, now I see what works for me and what doesn't. And gratitude just doesn't work for me. Just like, a lot of things. But for me specifically, as someone who has had a lot of religious trauma, gratitude is just not it. So I've come to realize that love is actually the highest vibration, not gratitude. Gratitude, if it's possible for you to do that, that's your cup of tea. It's just not mine. And I used to be like, well, maybe I'm ungrateful and that's why everything isn't working for me, but that's not true. It's not that I wasn't appreciative of the things that I had or whatever it was, but I'm not tolerating bare minimum shit. I am over it. I'm over it. So this is for the people who are tired of the bare minimum fucking shit. Because it is so annoying to constantly, have to go through hell and high water and constantly be knocked down. Big bad wolf comes and blows your house down, and you're like, well, you know what? At least I have 2 sticks to rub together and make a fire. Then it rains, and it's just like, well, at least I have clothing on my body. Then, you get swept up in a tornado and your clothes get torn. Well, at least I'm still breathing. And, this has been one of the reasons why I was just like, I've created, or, I have come to have a shitty relationship with the energy of gratitude. I appreciate, my guides and things like that, but gratitude to me feels like groveling in distress, and that's what it feels like, having grown up the way that I have, where it was just like, well, you know what, you should just be happy that you have clothes on your back and a roof over your head and all of that stuff, even if the roof is falling in on you and the people under it are beating you up and, all of that stuff. But, at least it's there. And it gives complacency for me. It gives this energy of complacency. And I have become quite tired of feeling like torture is, acceptance by divine forces, And that's what I grew up with. It was just like, oh, well, it's a test. It's a test. God is testing you and, testing to see if you will, still love him even if he sends you through hell and all of that stuff. And for me, as the non-religious being that I am, I don't see spirituality in that way. I don't see the way that I, have been handled by my spirits and guardians in that way. I have gone through some shit, even still, after coming out of that, but that wasn't necessarily me being tested by any spirit or anything like that. That was me trying to gain my footing back from, outsourcing my power to other things. And so, this is in the energy of like reclamation. And so instead of, doing the whole like I am grateful for, which I don't do anymore. I used to do that. I used to do the whole gratitude list and stuff like that, but it didn't work for me because I had already done that. I'd done that my whole entire life. Every crappy thing that had ever had to happen to me, I would just be grateful for all of these basic ass things. And it's just like, if you exist in a world where you need to breathe oxygen and the oxygen isn't already provided for you, then you don't exist you don't get to breathe anymore. You don't get to be alive anymore. And that's the way that I've seen it. Like, the provisions are a birthright. They're not a privilege. And that's what gratitude feels like to me, like turning the, provisions into a privilege rather than a birthright. So then you have to sit here and you have to grovel and beg for every single solitary thing that you might need. And that's why I am outside, like, that's why I say fuck gratitude. Anyways, so first card we have is, I almost said the lion. The lion's mane. I'm seeing like the mushroom. Strength. And then we have the moon. The 5 of Swords. And the 9 of Dis. This, to me, strength gives this inner power, this energy of inner power. This is drawing out. I'm feeling it coming up from the chest, like, just like from that solar plexus through that heart chakra and out from the throat. So, and all of those colors are kind of like here. And so, like, that's what I'm seeing, like, bringing that power out from within, like, reclaiming that power from within rather than outsourcing the power. And then we have, like, with this moon energy, this is a very big energy of, like, intuition. Plus the 5 of Swords. This 5 of Swords gives this cutting through the illusions, cutting through the bullshit, cutting through to actually find what the real truth is for you. And building your world, intuitively from a space of your own personal power and your own personal truth brings you that foundation. And then we have the 10 of Cups at the bottom, which is a very, very bright and sunny energy. And Ace of Swords at the top, which is clarity. Getting clarity about your own internal power and how your universe works, how to take control of the simulation in order to create the reality that you actually want to see, because you have to realize that your world speaks your language. If it doesn't speak your language, you're not in your world, and it's time to come back to center and draw that power out from within to kind of get back into your own timeline. And that's what this gives. It's what it gives. It's something that only you as the individual can really tap into, because it is your power. No one can really tell you, who you are. So, yeah. Maybe gratitude doesn't work for you, but maybe, saying, I love this about my life, maybe that works. But anyways, hope that helps. The darkness in me recognizes and honors the darkness in you. Love you. Bye.